Okay, so again, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar, NVR Firmware Release 1.4.10. Together with me is Ilan from our pre-sale department, from our product development team. We'll be hosting this seminar, and we will be happy to answer any question at the end. At the meantime, feel free to write it in the chat box. So enjoy your seminar, and thank you very much for joining. Ilan, I've muted you, so open your mic and let's start.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So good morning, everybody, and we are going to start with the presentation of 1.4.10. Just a second, I'm going to switch to presentation mode. Okay, so now it's full screen, I assume. Just
Yes,
a
it is.
second, reclaim course. Okay. Okay, so the first feature I would like to speak about is illegal parking. So illegal parking is the feature that is basically looking for a scenario in which there are cars which are obscuring specific area like your parking lot, or there is some unparking area where you need to park for just a few seconds and leave. So in the case somebody is parking there for more than the amount of times that defined by the user, you're going to get some notification. So let's see how exactly it's working and how we're catching those scenarios. Just a second. Okay. So the technical logic behind this analytics is basically the same as a sterile area. You just define specific sterile area. You enable this feature to be working on the camera itself that's supporting such a feature. And the most important part is how long the vehicle can be inside this area or touching this area. So basically there are two features. One is where, and second one is how long. Okay, now let's see some small video we created for you, and you will understand how it's working. Before I will get to the video, I would like just to show that we have a new feature, which is push notifications, which are coming with a small snapshot. So basically, if you're getting this kind of notification about illegal parking, you might see a small snapshot here. You can do like one tap to open this message before you actually getting into the CAM2 application, and you're going to see which car is actually parking in this area. So you can react if it's important, or just avoid and say, okay, this is somebody I know. Okay, so you're getting this kind of notification based on this analytic. Now let's see how it can be configured. Okay, so we are going to do it from the NVR because we are talking about new feature inside NVR itself. So it's ability to control the camera that supports such a feature from the NVR level. So we're enabling here illegal parking on specific camera that supports this feature. Okay, by enabling it, we are now start drawing the area where we want to catch those vehicles that are staying there for longer than X amount of time. So in this case, we are setting here 15 seconds. And this is it, we finished. And now we're going to define, I would like to pause here and show you that there is even more options to this analytics. You can define here if you want to catch only four-wheel vehicles or two-wheel vehicles. So if you have some people who are coming with motorcycles or bicycles and just throwing them in specific area, you can find it and get notification about it. Okay, so the way we're going to analyze that this feature is working, we're just going to have some video pop-up. This is going to be the reaction. So we're going to have a divided screen. Once this scenario will be caught on the camera, then we're going to see full screen of this camera popping up. So we basically finished our configuration. Now it's the time to test it. So we see this small area in our parking lot, and we're going to get the car in. But you should imagine yourself that there is like internal counter. This is just a graphical addition, but you should understand that there is a counter which is running for every car that touches this specific area. So we're going to get again in this area, and the internal counter is going to run, but it's not going to get again to this 15 seconds. Only when the person is going to get in and stay with his car for this amount of time, you see there is no reaction yet. Okay. Only when we are going to get the car inside for this amount of time, only then we're going to get this reaction. And the reaction could be like, for example, you can turn on siren or do some voice notification. So you see he left his car, and once we are reaching 15 seconds, we are getting full screen pop-up. So it means that the analytics is working perfectly, and then we can react to it. Now, the reaction, as I mentioned, could be, for example, siren or some pre-recorded voice notification. So the person will know, okay, I'm parking in the wrong place. I will move my car, okay? Now, once you have those events recorded on the NVR, later on you can search for those and show your neighbors, for example, that they are blocking you. So how do we do it? Very simple. We just go to search area of the analytics. We're choosing to search for this specific analytics, which is illegal parking, and we are searching it. So we'll find all the vehicles which were parking in this area for longer than amount of time we defined for this specific area. Okay. So this is about it. Yes, we can see here like the way we are jumping from the event recorded to the recording itself, so we can export it. So this is how it works on the NVR side. Just a second. Okay. Next one, loitering detection. So loitering detection is exactly like illegal parking, same technical logic, but in this case, we're talking about humans. We're looking for people who are staying in specific area for longer than defined time. Now, what could be the usages for this kind of feature? For example, we have some people who are waiting to get some service, for example, in a clinic. So we will see that there is a person staying there for too long time. Or, for example, if there is a bancomat area where people are withdrawing money and there's somebody who's staying there for too long time, looking, for example, to rob somebody. Okay, or people who are doing some vandalizing. So basically, you're looking for a person who is there for longer than X amount of time that you defined, and let's see how it's actually working. So the logic is exactly the same. You define sterile area, you define how long this human is supposed to be there before we get a notification, and that's it. So let's see the whole process and see how easy it is. So again, we are doing the whole configuration from the NVR side. Okay, previously, just to pause for a second, previously we had it on the camera itself and we couldn't control it. With this new firmware released, now we can control the camera from the NVR itself and configure and get it recorded, and later on we can search for this event. So now we are going to analytics, perimeter monitoring, and this time we are going to choose loitering detection, which is related to humans, and we are going to enable it. We're going to draw the area in which we're going to find people who are staying there for longer than amount of time we're going to define here. So in this case, we're going to give 20 seconds for somebody who's going to stay there, just to demonstrate you how it's working. And the trigger is going to be the same. We're going to do the pop-up window, so it will pop up as a full screen window when somebody is going to be caught there staying for too long time. Now you see there are some people browsing inside. Every person getting into this area is having some internal counter. We cannot see it, but this is how we graphically explain you how it's working. So we see here that the person here is not having a bounding box, so meaning that he was not caught as a human being yet. And now when he's going to be staying there for longer than those 20 seconds, then we're going to have this pop-up. Okay, so when this counter is going to reach 20 seconds, we're going to have this full screen pop-up, and this is how it's working. And the same logic. So when we want to search for it, we go to settings, we go to our applications. Inside, we're looking for loitering detection. And this is how we're going to see and find all those weird people who are waiting there for too long and maybe preparing themselves to do something in this specific area. So this could be a very good solution for home protection if we see that there are people who are not just going near our house, but actually staying near our door and they're preparing to do some operation. Okay, so next feature, just a second, I'm going to close this one. Okay, now again, as I mentioned, you can get a push notification to your phone. to the CAM2 application. And with a new feature, you are going to see it with a small snapshot, so you can realize if this is person that you are going to react to, or maybe this is not so important, and therefore you're going to avoid reacting to it. So this small snapshot is going to help you to get to a decision. The next feature we're going to talk about is audio exception. We already mentioned it in our previous releases and Zooms, the sessions that we did, that this feature is coming from the camera itself, and it's looking for audio exception scenarios. What is the audio exception? We have this line, you see this blue line, this is threshold. So we are looking basically for scenarios in which we have some loud noise, which is going over this threshold, or if it's going below this threshold. So it could be used in two scenarios. For example, if you have a quiet environment and there are suddenly dog barking and we yet don't know the reason for it, but we would like to get notification about it. So we're going to search for this kind of event, which is over this threshold. Or in another scenario, there could be a machinery area where you have like a heavy machinery, and this is always noisy environment, and suddenly this noise is stopping, and you want to understand why. So we're going to get notification about this scenario as well. So how does it work? It's very simple. You just go to the same area of analytics, and you're choosing to work with other. And then you can configure your threshold, which is this middle line, and you're going to say, I want to get notification and react to a scenario in which the sound, those two red and blue lines, are going to go over this threshold, or I want to find a scenario in which those two lines are going to go below the threshold. So this is sudden decrease of sound. Okay, so those are two scenarios. Let's see how it's actually working on the NVR itself, how we configure it and how it's going to work. For this, I'm going to turn on my volume. Oh, just a second. I think I didn't do it with the sound. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to stop it.
Hear it.
You can hear the sound inside the clip itself?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to get, just a second, I see that I'm not getting the full resolution here. I'm now working with a PowerPoint that is having the videos embedded already from the YouTube. So later on, when we're going to share with you this PowerPoint, you can play it exactly with those videos, but the videos are going to be from the YouTube itself to reduce the size. Okay, so we're getting to audio. Okay, now we're choosing the camera we want to work with. We're choosing which source of sound we are going to work with. So in this case, we're just now working to enable the sound, getting the sound from the microphone of the camera itself. Okay, and we can play a little bit with the sensitivity of the sensor of the microphone itself. Now let's go to configure the threshold and the scenarios of abnormal sound over or below specific threshold. So we are getting here to the audio exception. We're enabling this search for or reaction to this scenario to start being sensitive to this change. And now we're going to define if it's going to be above specific threshold. We're going to set the threshold itself, and we're going to define below the threshold if you want to catch, for example, the noise environment stopping being noisy. Okay, so we're going to set how long this event of changing of sound is going to be. We're playing, this is like calibration of your camera. So we're seeing now that there is a threshold and we see some noises that are coming from the camera. And if it's going to be above, then we're going to do a video pop-up. Now we're going to simulate, for this reason, we're going to simulate a dog barking. Okay, so if dog is going to bark, he's going to go over this threshold, and then this window is going to pop up full. And of course, we can react with some more advanced measures. Okay, so we see the dog barking, and this is why the window become big. Okay, now next scenario we're going to do with below specific volume threshold. So we're going to define again the same way, but now we're going to search for this one, for sudden decrease of intensity. Okay, so we're generating there some sound near the camera, like a factory sound, which is always noisy. And then we want to capture a scenario in which it's going to go below this threshold. Okay. So I assume that you hear this part. So we're looking only for sudden decrease. Okay, so it's already on top, above this threshold. And now we're going to stop this sound near the camera. And you're going to see again the pop-up, which the trigger is going to be full screen pop-up, like we configured before. And we see here the sound of this noisy environment. So when we're stopping it, we're getting a full screen of this one. Okay. So this is about that one. Next one. So now, if you would ask next question, how do we search for those events? So you can go to the logs in a system, and you're looking for alert, and then you can search and find that there is audio exceptions. This is currently how you can find those events. It will direct you to a specific time when it happened, so you can later on research and play it. Okay, it's not yet available in the analytical area. It will be in the next versions, but currently this is a way for you to search those kind of events. Okay. Next topic in this new release is about IP camera activation. So currently, in previous versions, when you had a new camera out of the box connected to the NVR, you see it in the network, but you could not activate. For that, you had to use IPC Manager, our software, which is very user-friendly. But if you're working with just a HDMI monitor connected to the NVR itself, and you see this camera deactivated, now you have more convenience in activating those cameras from the NVR. So now you see this camera is deactivated. I just click on activate the camera. And then it will display me this dialog, which is going to ask me, do you want me to activate this camera using the NVR password that you have on the NVR itself? So it will inherit the password from the NVR. Or I can uncheck this checkbox, and then I'm going to set my own password and user for this camera. Okay, it depends on what you're willing to do in this specific case. Let's see just a small demonstration how it's working. So we unpacked one of the cameras. We have a LPR camera connected to our switch, and we're going to find it as deactivated, and we are going to activate it. So we're coming to settings, cameras, edit camera. This is where we find all our cameras, and we are going to search for to add some new camera. So we see there is a deactivated camera here. I'm going to play with this one. So I see that it's deactivated. I'm checking it, this camera, and I'm clicking on activate, and then I'm choosing to use the default password. It means that it will inherit from the NVR itself. Or I can uncheck it, and then I'm going to create a new password by myself. And this is going to be used in this case. So now it will be converted to activated. Okay, once the process is done, it's activated. Now we can add it to the NVR. So this is now available for us to add. And now we're going to see it on the NVR itself. So let's click on the add button, and this camera is going to appear in the list of our cameras. Okay, it's now active. It's now part of our NVR. We are going to record this camera, and we are going to see it here in the list. So this is the camera itself. Okay, so next topic is about password string. So as you know, we are working in full cooperation with a checkpoint company, which is providing us with the highest level of security on the hardware itself, on the NVR and cameras. But on top of it, there is a requirement and demand for the password to be strong enough so it will avoid for some hackers to enter the system using a very weak password. So the new demand, which is going to run from this version 1.4.10, is going to force any user, any installer, to use a strong password. Now, before we're going to explain what is strong, let's go over all those types of different passwords. So we have a low, which is the lowest level. You can use just one character, okay, or digit or whatever. Medium, it was what we had before. It's like minimum 8 characters, and at least one of them is digit and one of them is letter. But the strong one is going to be 8 characters again, but one is going to be capital letter, one is digit, and one is going to be special character, like exclamation mark or dollar or asterisk or whatever. Okay, so it's going to maybe make our life a little bit more complicated, but still we must use it. So it will create additional like level of security to connect to our devices. Okay. Now the super strong level, just for you to know, it's the same like strong, but it's with 12 characters. And again, we need to use all those specific characters inside this password. Okay. So from now on, once you're going to update your firmware in the NVR, you will see that you will get a request to change your new password. So it will be standing with this requirement of a strong level password. Okay, the next topic we're going to talk about is secure access. This is a very interesting feature. And before I'm going to show you, I want to explain how it was working before and how it's working by now. So we have NVR, which is connected through the cloud if you're working with the cloud. And you could access this NVR using our website for, like if you want to support some customer, you can access provisionisr-cloud.com, use the serial number of the NVR and the user password, you're inside and you can start working, monitoring, and you are inside this device. In addition, you could use user and password. This is like you just scanning QR code and you are using user and password and you're inside. And the more advanced new feature we added recently in the last few years is a binding. So now you need to be registered inside this CAM2 application. You need to scan QR code and you need to apply, add some kind of secured code that you apply in this software, and now it creates a binding between your account inside CAM2 to the device itself. Now, from this point of time, you can start sharing this NVR channels with other users. But in this case, you don't need to share with them any user and password, like in this case. Okay, you can just share and say, I want this specific user, another user inside CAM2 to see channel 3 and 7. Okay, for example, and after some time you can kick him out and he's going to be he will lose access to these specific channels. Okay, so you're not sharing with him any user and password, you're just sharing with him specific channels, and you control his access to those channels, if he can view it or he can play it back. Okay, now of course you can understand that this option of connectivity is much better than this one, because in this one you don't know who is actually connecting to your device, and you cannot kick him out because he is now in the same level of you, like you, if he is connecting with admin. Now, with this new feature, which is called secured access, you're going to see it inside configuration of the NVR. When you check this checkbox, which is called secure access in the NAT area, where you see the QR code, all the previous users that have been using QR code and user and password only are going to be disconnected. Okay, it's going to let only users which are binded to connect to this NVR. Even if there is some person who is trying to connect through cloud access through this website, they are going to say, no, sorry, you need to get authorization from this guy, from this binded person who is the master on this NVR. So if you have some customers who are very strict with our security, you can update them that we have now a secure access feature that you can enable or you can disable. It depends on you. You just need to know about this ability. So then if they're going to check this checkbox, all the other people who've been connecting to this NVR are going to be losing connection to it. They will have to go through this person who is the master, and only when he's going to share with those people access to some of the channels, only then they're going to see it. Okay, now let's enhance this point. So let's talk about some installer who is trying to support one of the customers. He is trying to connect to his NVR, configure maybe some analytics or format his hard drive, whatever. So if this secured access feature is going to be enabled and he's trying to connect to this website, to this NVR through this website, the end user is going to get notification. It's a notification going to say him, sorry, somebody is trying to connect to your NVR. Do something about it, authorize it. Okay, so let's see how it's working. So I'm trying to connect to this NVR. This is a serial number of NVR. I'm using admin and password. I remember this customer credentials. Once I'm going to click on login, this is going to ask me, okay, this guy just enabled secured access feature. And then it's going to ask me for this authorization code. Now the binded user is going to get a notification, login request, checkpoint. So this is going to open for him. If he's going to open this notification, he's going to get this code. Only if he's going to provide me with this code, only then I will be able to log in and support him and get access to his NVR. So from now on, he is going to control when the installer is going to help him and support him. Okay. So now it's the time to explain about a new feature, next topic, which is thumbnail notification. I know that many people are asking to get not just like a small line of notification inside our CAM2, but they wanted to see some preview. So instead of opening the whole app, they just want to see what it is about, like if it's important, the case that we need to react to. So with this new secured access feature enabled, this one, okay, when we're going to see that this is enabled, only then we are going to get those small snapshots that are going to appear near to the notification itself, okay? So let's see how it's going to look like. So we're going to show you both scenarios. Now we recorded one on iPhone. So in iPhone, you need to just click long on this event, and then you're going to see, and you can browse between those different notifications you're getting. Long tap, and you're going to see what it is about if it needs your attention. And in Android, you have a little bit different interface. So you just click on drop down, this small arrow, and once you're going to choose one of the notifications you are looking for, you're going to see the small snapshots here. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like, and it's already available with the new NVR firmware. Of course, again, I need to remind you that you need to use the secure access. So this is the interface. Inside the NAT, where you have a security code of binding and etc., there is a new very important checkbox, which is by default disabled. Okay, so you need to know that you can enable it. If you will enable it, then all the people who've been trying to connect and were connected by the QR code only, they are going to be disconnected, and only binded person can start sharing it with other people. Okay. Next topic is very interesting for those who are working with our doorbell unit. So our doorbell is actually working as a camera and intercom together. So previously, when you wanted to open a gate or a door in some area, you had to click on a button. You need to speak with the owner, and owner is going to click on the app to open the door. The new option inside NVR is enabling us to work with this camera as a face recognition camera. So we can define X amount of people who are going to be stored as a snapshot, as their faces are going to be stored inside NVR itself. And when there are those people, the people who are living in this specific home are going to be nearby this doorbell, it's going to send a snapshot to the NVR, and NVR is going to check inside database and say, okay, I know this guy, I can open for him the door. So it will be like contactless. He doesn't need to call, he doesn't need to do anything, he just need to show his face and the door will be opened immediately. This is very usable feature, for example, in hospitals, where you have some areas which are restricted for only personnel. So the personnel will come in immediately, and if we have some like visitors, they will need to click on the button to have a call with the manager, and manager is going to approve or disapprove their entrance to this specific area. Now, I would like to demonstrate you how it's working. It's super simple. Okay, it's going to take like less than even a minute. So we have a doorbell here connected. This is a doorbell here on the top left side. We see it in a list. We're going to see it in a list here. This is our doorbell. Okay, we're going to add this doorbell to our NVR. Yeah, I'm adding this doorbell. It's becoming online. Okay, now start working with it. Okay, so we see the image. Okay, it's now connected to our NVR. And now let's define the analytics. So I'm going to choose this doorbell in the list. I'm going to enable detection and recognition. And this one maybe didn't record properly, but I'm working with all the databases, meaning my face is already inside the database. And the main feature that you need to remember about it is this one, open the door. So it means that we now applying to this doorbell. In the recognition scenario, it's going to send a command to the doorbell unit to open the door, okay? Okay, so I'm marking this option. This is a new feature in this firmware. And once I'm going to show my face, it's going to open the door. It works automatically and perfectly. Okay, and next, we're going to talk about next feature is about LPR cameras. So I will give you some history. Previously, our LPR cameras were working regardless to the direction of the vehicle. It could be coming in, going out. It doesn't matter. In both scenarios, we would analyze and catch license plate number, or we would open the gate. And a new feature that was released with LPR, like I don't know, half year ago maybe, it started detecting the direction of the vehicle, if it's coming or going away. So this was enabled on the LPR camera itself, but was not yet enabled from the NVR. So NVR couldn't control this feature. With our new firmware release, now you can control it. You have most of the features that you need to configure on the LPR camera is now available on the NVR side. Let's see how it looks like. So if we are going to look on the web interface of the LPR camera, we had their ability to do recognition of the vehicle with a new firmware, only if it's approaching vehicle or leaving vehicle or both of them, both directions. And now in NVR new feature, you have exactly the same. So you have now the interface that enables you to avoid connecting to the web interface. So you have all the configuration that needs to be done on the web interface already embedded on the NVR itself. So you don't need to open any web interface at all, okay? So as well, not only the direction have been added, we have now as well the detection area that you can configure from the NVR itself. So we had it on the web interface, now you have it on the NVR itself. And you have the blocking area as well. You can have up to 4 different areas of blocking and detection areas. Most of the features are now configurable from the NVR itself. Next topic is about the AI rules. So this is more about the camera. So we had the release of a camera, which is 5130. So there were cameras were supporting 3 different scenarios of working, and there couldn't be any one of scenarios that could work with another one. Like only one of those 3 scenarios can be activated. So one of the scenarios is all about the DDA features like analytics, like crossing line or people counting or loitering, illegal parking, everything inside this DDA button, okay? Or there could be a metadata. So if you have some people coming or vehicles that you need to analyze and search later on by its color or by people, if they're wearing masks or not wearing masks or glasses or whatever, it's in the metadata area, okay? Or faces. So the camera could generate snapshots of the faces. So for later on, it could be connected to NVR, and NVR could do face recognition. So you had 3 different modes of operation inside the camera itself, okay? So you have here a list of all the features you could do in this specific version. Now, there is a new version that were released for some cameras, which is number 1 in the end, 5131, which means that this metadata and the DDA, all the illegal parking and loitering, are embedded in one scenario. So you can now turn on this one, and it will run all those features together, and they can run even simultaneously in the same time. Or you can switch to this face recognition, face detection area, and it will operate, this camera will operate only for the face detection features. Why it is important for you to understand, because basically from this interface and the NVR, you are talking to the camera. You are asking the camera to switch to different profile of operation. So anytime you are working in this, for example, in this operation mode, and you want to start working with face detection, then you need to mark this one, and it will tell the camera, please stop working in this mode and start working in the new mode of faces, okay? and it will request the camera to do reset. So it will start working with this kind of operation, because you know, there are some limitation of CPU. So you can either work on the faces detection mode, or you can do all those features in this specific version, which is for all the DDA and metadata list. Okay. So this is just interface to operate with your cameras, but you need to find for the camera what is the mode of operation. Okay, so if it's working with the faces and you want to switch back to the metadata, you will need to go to this AI type selection and define what type of operation this camera is supposed to do. Okay, I hope it's clear. If not, we are going to come back to this point again. Next one, we are going to have in a new in this NVR already, you already have the device upgrade area, but there is a new area which is called channel upgrade. So you can update all of your cameras from the NVR itself, but it's not yet available on the cameras itself. Okay, so only with the cameras with a new version 5.2, you're going to have ability to get updates from the NVR. You're going to see here a list of new firmwares. So you're going to check all the cameras that you want to upgrade, and then you're going to do batch upgrade for all those cameras, and then it's going to save you a huge amount of time. But it's all will be centralized from the NVR itself. Okay, so it's a new feature. It's a preparation for the next version of the cameras releases. Next topic is dual system support. So maybe some of you faced in the past scenario in which you're upgrading your NVR or DVR, and for some reason you did a mistake and you upgraded it with the wrong version, and then your DVR stuck. So we have a new mechanism that is going to protect you from this scenario. So we have some NVRs who are coming with double flash. So the flash of the flash memory of the NVR is divided into two partitions. One partition is for operating, and the second one is for monitoring. So how exactly it's going to work? Let's assume that you are doing a firmware update for the main partition. If there is going to be a detection that this update is going to fail, we're going to run to the recovery partition, and the recovery partition, the second one, is going to run and is going to boot with the NVR and is going to let it work, because we have a previously healthy partition which is stored in this recovery partition. After reboot, it's going to come back to normal operation, and it's going to restore the main partition from this recovery partition. So it will like block the firmware update we try to do. Okay, so this is a mechanism for us to protect the NVR from doing wrong updates, or even in the middle of update, you have a power break. So it will protect you from this scenario, and it will let you always boot up properly. This is why we have dual boot system. So if we'll dive into this process, it's pretty simple. So you have two partitions and they are working in normal state. Let's assume that we are updating one of the partitions. The other partition, which is second one, is monitoring. If everything is okay for like 15 minutes, that we have full operation, nothing is crashing. And in this case, they are going. It's going to inherit all the content, and it's going to boot up from this partition too as well. Okay, just to verify that this partition is working perfectly. This is going to be between boots. So every time you're going to boot, it's going to test second partition, and the second partition is going to run properly, and then we're going to come back to boot from the first partition, and the second one will be in waiting in normal state. It's just going to monitor the first partition. So this is a mechanism of protecting our NVR from corruption during firmware update, for example, or wrong firmware update. So this is the way that you are not going to face any stuck screen scenario. Okay, the next feature is about thermal camera. So for those who've been working with our thermal cameras, know that before, when you connect the thermal camera to the NVR, you could just see optical sensor only, and you couldn't see the thermal image on the NVR itself. With this new firmware, 1.4.10, you can see the thermal sensor, but you need to do some small operation to see it. It's super simple. You just, when you see your camera here connected to the NVR, okay, but we're talking about PoE. Sorry, I forgot to mention. This is about PoE. When you connected your thermal camera to the PoE port, you could see only optical sensor, and you couldn't see thermal sensor. Okay, now to resolve the situation, let's see how it's can be resolved. So when you go to the list of your cameras, you see here one of the cameras which is working with the PoE. It is connected to the PoE port. We can see by the IP address that it's IP address that you are getting from the NVR itself, from its internal DHCP service. Okay, so to resolve this problem, and you see here only optical side, we are doing the next. We are clicking on add. Okay, we are going to add manually another camera. And in this case, we are typing in exactly the same IP address of this camera again. But in this case, it's going to show us this specific dialog in which we see that optical is already selected because we already saw optical. And now we can choose thermal. So the same IP address is going to display thermal channel. And now we are going to get the same camera with the same IP address. It's going to appear twice. Okay, but now it's going to show us thermal and one is going to be optical. Let's see it in the video. So you will see the whole process much easier. Okay, so we see that we have here in the cameras list, we're going to see that we have already a thermal camera, or maybe let's add it first. So we're going to add this PoE camera connected to our NVR. It's going to appear here. Okay, now it appears here. We see this camera connected to the NVR. And again, this is going to be only optical. Okay, and now we want to add it and show the thermal as well. So we're coming here to add camera and we add manually. And we set here exactly the same IP address that this optical side got. Okay, we're using the same user password. And in this case, you see, we get now thermal. So now we're going to get exactly the same camera twice. Okay, and in this case, we're going to be using thermal side. So we can rename it. We can come to this one and say this is optical. And the next channel, we're going to change the name, is going to be thermal. Okay, so now we have thermal and optical. So when we drag this one here, we're going to get optical, and then one is going to be thermal. Okay, this is it about this feature. And now let's talk about.
Sorry,
Yes.
Ilan. One
Yes.
comment. Hey, everyone. Hope you're holding on. We have two more features, actually. So rest a while. Stay with us. I'm guessing another 10 to 15 minutes, and then we're going to start answering all the questions, which you see you have quite a lot. So let's continue. Thank you, Ilan.
This topic is about new PoE controlling of remote cameras. So let's assume a very basic scenario. We have three cameras that we have connected to our NVR. We want to connect to our NVR. So the first option is to have three different cables connected to the PoE switch, internal PoE switch of the NVR. And the other option is to connect it through the network. So it will be through some switch. Okay. But now we can use the same cable which is already connected. Let's assume that we have a historically installed camera. Like a year ago, we installed a camera to some remote room. And this is already a network cable which is connected to the PoE of NVR. And we would like to continue working with the PoE side because we don't want to be connected with the cameras to the network of the office itself. Okay, we don't want to do like overloading of the network, and we want to be internal network of the connected to the NVR itself. So how we can resolve it and we can continue working with the PoE side is the next way. So we can basically reserve those three channels. Okay, so it will be future later on will be occupied just by one connection, but all those three are going to be occupied and you cannot connect other cameras here. Okay, and then we are going to use external switch and we're going to connect those three cameras. But before we do it, we're going to make sure that those cameras are going to get IP address that is matching the IP address of this NVR. So it will be in the same range. Okay, so the way to do it, we can just simply connect those cameras to the NVR before, and each one of them is going to get the IP address and it will become static. Or you can check it later on in web interface that it's actually a static IP address. And then we're going to use external external PoE switch, and we're going to connect those cameras on the remote location, and just using one cable, we're going to connect it to the NVR. Now, if you're going to dive into technicals, so if you go to IP address settings and you're going to the internal port, so this is all about PoE, you're going to see here the IP addresses range or starting IP address of that is going to be used inside NVR. So this is like DHCP server inside NVR itself, and it's going to start from this number running up for every camera. Okay, so when we are going to connect the cameras, we're going to get one of those IP addresses in this range. We are going to change this DHCP to static on the camera itself, and then we're going to connect the camera to remote switch on a remote location. But we are going still to use the same cable, and it will be connected just to one PoE port. But before we are actually doing it, we want to do two things. First, on the two of those PoE channels, we want to disable power, so it will not be using power, so we can manage power. And we want to disable the PoE plug-and-play settings. This is the most important part. The PoE plug-and-play setting, it means a DHCP. So it's by force trying to push some IP address to the camera. So we're going to disable it on those ports. So why? Because we have already IP address defined on those cameras. So we want to disable it. And then those cameras are going to be connected. So this is how it looks like. So I'm here on PoE plug-and-play settings. I'm unchecking those ports that I'm going to use, okay? And then I will be able to use a cable to one of those PoE ports, and the cameras are going to be connected because they are not going to be forced to get IP address from the DHCP service inside the NVR, okay? And we are going to see those cameras connected to the NVR because they are in the same range of the PoE, okay? I hope you got this point clear, but if not, we can enhance it later on. But still, the only thing you need to remember is that you can use like one cable already connected to some remote location, and then you can connect some more cameras to it. But you need to do some preparations and define IP addresses that are going to be in the same range of the NVR PoE DHCP service. And next topic we're going to talk about, and we are almost finishing, is about active deterrence cameras. So you do know that we have active deterrence cameras which are coming with those police-like LEDs, red and blue, and we have internal speaker, and you can push in some audio files, so you will have some customized audio alerts. But there are scenarios in which your customers or neighbors are going to have complaints about those cameras because they are making too much noise, and there are specific hours in which you cannot do noises, like between 2 and 4 or after 11 o'clock in the night. So you can come and to the NVR itself with a new feature and define when audio or light, which is we're talking about here inside the Venom Analytics. We're coming to this area, audio and light, and we can define in what hours this feature can work. Okay, so we're not talking about analytics. We're saying what is going to be the blockage on those features on the audio and light, and what is going to be the specific schedule that is going to be connected to this feature. So we can define through all of our active deterrent cameras in one moment, in one interface, what is going to be their approval time zone or time specific hours during a day that they approved to trigger those active deterrence elements. Okay, so this is how you can do it from one central interface.
I want to emphasize for
yes,
everyone, we're not talking about the schedule for the analytic itself. The analytic itself has its own schedule. We're talking about the schedule for the deterrence, for the red and blue light, and for the speaker messages. The analytic will continue to work on a different time clock schedule as you set it up. Only the deterrence itself, you can define its own schedule.
Exactly. So it will continue working, as Ami said. You just have the ability to control the stuff that are interfering with the public area by one interface. Okay. So this is the new feature. Now, I think the last point we're going to talk about is this burglar alarm. So with those cameras connected, the active deterrence cameras connected to the NVR, you want to control the burglar alarm state, which means that I'm home. I don't need to get any notification from those cameras. And this is why we have a burglar alarm. So this burglar alarm state, which is on or off, can be controlled from the NVR, and you can even connect it to the alarm in sensor. So for example, you're coming home, you can turn off, disarm your alarm system, and this disarm system is going to do alarm in on our NVR, and it will trigger this burglar alarm active or disactive. Okay. Now, the new features that we are going to talk about is that you now have a control over those cameras as well. So if you have, like, for example, NVR with 5 cameras connected with those active deterrence elements, when you're in a burglar alarm mode, it's going to shut down those lights and those sirens as well. It's going to be included in this burglar alarm state. Okay, but let's dive into and understand it deeper. So when you have active deterrence cameras, and they are in a version of 5.1.2, which is released already for, I think, long time. Now, when you are using this new NVR firmware, you're going to see in configuration of burglar alarm area, you're going to see in configuration of the camera itself, a control over audio and light, those strobe light and this audio siren. So now you have it included, and so it means that when you're going to turn on burglar alarm on or off, this is going to shut down those cameras. But again, analytics, as Ami said, will continue working. Recording will continue working if you configure it properly. If you will remove this checkbox, it will continue recording. So you have control over it. But this feature is going to be included, and it will make your life more convenient. It will not react to it if you're going outside to your garden, and it will not turn on some siren on you. Okay. But I would like to enhance, and this is how we're going to finish this Zoom. So I would like to talk about burglar alarm in deeper. So I recorded this video to enhance this point. So let's get into burglar alarm linkage. We're going to settings, events and analytics, and the burglar alarm. Okay. So first thing to explain this feature, because this is important for your customers to know. First one is going to be about connection between, just enabling it. So if you're connecting your sensor, the alarm in on the NVR itself to some alarm system, for example, or just some switch, so you will be becoming controlling this burglar alarm on or off is going to be controlled by this sensor. This is the way for you to, first of all, to connect it between the sensor to the state itself. Okay, so this is number one. Next one is the remote client. This is for us to being able to turn on this scenario, this specific burglar alarm feature on and off from the CAM to app. How it's done, we're going to see it in a very deep way in a few seconds. So you see there is a area here which you are turning on or off, and this area is going to be controlling the state. Okay, it's active or disactive. We're going to talk about it in a few seconds. Now, the only thing we need to do if you want to start working with the burglar alarm is to add some cameras, and some of those cameras are going to be active deterrence. You see this AD, it's active deterrent cameras. So now we have a list here of the cameras. The only thing is left is to configure what is going to happen in this specific scenario. So I can configure camera by camera. This is huge flexibility. I can go to specific cameras and say this is like a second floor zone. So I want not to be affected by the burglar alarm, for example. Or I want to turn off specific triggers in this camera. So it will give me ability to work in a level of the camera itself. So it's going to be how it's going to be affected, which triggers are going to be deactivated in this case. Or I can click on this main button, configure, and this is going to be for all the cameras. Okay, so it's going to be general for all the cameras connected here. And you see, it showed me the features that are going to be controlling active deterrence camera active elements, which is audio, siren, and the light. So I can include this to be deactivated in a burglar alarm inactive state. And of course, if you want, you can delete your cameras here from the delete area. So I'm applying it. And now you see it's inactive. So I can turn it on or off from this interface if I want. Okay, it's not the way to do it because you're not supposed to touch like a local interface of the NVR. You're supposed to do it from here, from the app itself. So I'm going to this area, I'm clicking on active, and when I'm turning it on, so it becomes active, and burglar alarm mode is now on. I'm refreshing my screen and showing you that it's now active. It means that I'm home. Don't like stop doing the. I'm just showing you what happens if it's inactive. So in inactive mode, it's going to, of course, to turn on the lights, and you're going to have the siren and the blinking light. Everything is going to operate if you are in inactive mode. Okay, so your normal state is inactive, and active, it means that its burglar alarm is on, so it means that everything's supposed to be quiet. The cameras are not supposed to react to it. Okay, I hope we covered everything, and now it's a time for questions. So, Ami, take over, please.
Thank you very much, Ilan. Thank you very much. That was exactly 1 hour, so well done, first of all. First of all, I would like to thank you everyone for joining us before we move to question. I'm going to close our recording. So thank you very much for joining us and see you in our next seminars.